Greetings, folks. Iolair here. Back in November, I featured the first replay from the Southeast Asia server on the channel in a video called Cruiser Scharnhorst that was courtesy of Shari 1966, and I'll leave a link to that replay in the description below. Now, in that match was a very crucial ally, the sole destroyer for Shari's team, a Fletcher, that was played by Puggsley, or Pugs, and Pugs has sent over this very good replay of himself in the Tier 10 Japanese destroyer, the Shimakaze. This is an all Tier 10 domination match on loop. There is one aircraft carrier per team, and there are also only 2 destroyers per team. Now, Pugs Shimakaze is commanded by Yamamoto. He has a very torpedo-centric loadout, including the Shimakaze's legendary upgrade, and he will definitely be taking advantage of the faster reload for this match. Now, part of the reason that Puggsley was such a crucial ally in the previous replay, the Cruiser Scharnhorst, was because he was laser focused on playing the objective, making sure that he got caps when he could, and defending those caps. And Pugs is going to do exactly the same thing in this match, and that's a reflection of the title of the video. Now, looking at the minimap, we can see that both Alpha and Bravo are being taken by the opponents, so we can reasonably assume that the 2 destroyers are over there. So Pugs should be able to get Charlie here without any issue unless the aircraft carrier sends his planes over, which it turns out he won't. That looks like the Z-52 is at Bravo, and that means that the Shimakaze is at Alpha. Now, I want to draw your attention to the Allied gearing, which is now moving to the Delta 1 sector. Now, it does make sense that the gearing not push into Alpha because he doesn't have enough support, but he is going to go around the corner and head south down the far west side of the map. I don't know if his intention was to try to get in flanking torpedo strikes or what, but he is significantly isolated himself, and frankly, he's really not playing to the objective. He would be much better off coming over to Bravo, trying to take the cap there. In fact, you can see Puggsley is pinging on the minimap because the gearing is basically taking himself out of the match, and that's obviously not helping Pugs or his team. Now, Pugs is going to stay in the Charlie area for quite a while here. He's looking to keep the opponents here back, keep them spotted, so his allies can hopefully take them out. His allies are not moving up as close to the cap as I think I would like to see if I were a destroyer. They know that there's no just opposing destroyer here at Charlie, so it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for at least some of the battleships to get a little closer with the cruisers behind to be able to put pressure on the Hindenburg, the Kurfürst, and there are a couple other opponents on the 8 line that are quite a little bit farther south as well. Puggsley, like I said, is spotting here. He's going to send out more torpedoes. I think his reload is close to 100 seconds, which is kind of scary fast for a Shimakaze. Pugs is running the 12-kilometer torpedoes, which are what I think most players do. I do see some players that still use the 20-kilometer torpedoes. They have terrible concealment. They're detected, I think, at 2.3 kilometers just out of the box. And then the 8-kilometer torpedoes that sometimes some players use as sort of suicide torpedoes are stupidly fast, but they're kind of gimmicky. So I generally don't see players using the 8-kilometer torpedoes very often. As I mentioned, Pugs is going to stay here over in the Charlie area for a while. He's got a lot of allies behind him, which is great. And in fact, the gearing that I mentioned earlier did successfully take out the Des Moines that he bumped into over at Echo 1. But that was really very lucky because, frankly, the Des Moines should have mowed down the gearing without any issue. Obviously, we couldn't see what the engagement looked like, but with so many opponents over in that area where the gearing is, it's frankly a miracle, in my opinion, that the gearing is still alive. But he, again, continues to not be in a position to be able to really do the right things to support the team. Now, you can see Puggsley is picking on the map over at Bravo. I think he probably wants the carrier to send planes over so that he can spot Bravo before Pugs goes over there to try to take that cap. The Allies do need to get another cap. The teams are even on the ships, but the opponents have 2 of the caps. and Pugs doesn't want to try to go over and try to get Bravo with not a lot of support, since most of his allies are over here north of Charlie, and then just get taken out. If I were Pugs, I probably would have started to make my move over to Bravo, at least to light things up. I probably would be closer to where the Minotaur is, but I think also Pugs was trying to really kind of get rid of this flank if at all possible. These opponents are quite far from the cap, but if Pugs and his allies are able to clear out the flank, maybe he was thinking that maybe his allies would be willing to push farther south, because right now they're just all kind of milling around north of Charlie, and Pugs will be expressing some frustration in chat around what his team is doing and being able to push through the flank, because they clearly have the all the firepower to push in and get a complete handle on Charlie, push off the opponents, and then push to Bravo. But right now, his allies are just kind of milling around, not really making a push toward either side. And I think at some point here in not too distant future, Pugs is going to make his way over toward Bravo. Gearing has actually started to move back towards Alpha. Again, not knowing how healthy he is, I don't know how smart of a move that is. There are still quite a few opponents over at Alpha, although they are quite spread out. And but it's would be relatively easy for the carrier to spot the Gearing and get him focused out. So he is at least moving to a cap, which is good. But I personally think that he would be better off going to Bravo. And again, it looks like Puggsley is now going to start making his way there, because I think he's realized at this point that he's pushed the opponents so far away from the Charlie cap that they're ineffective. And we can see that some of the allies are starting to creep down toward the cap, even though they're sort of scraping the side of the map. So not being very effective in helping to sort of try to get some center map control. Now, fortunately, the Allied carrier takes out the Kremlin, which definitely helped. Gets them a one-ship advantage. The Gearing is in Alpha contesting the cap, but we can see that the Shimakaze is in there as well, so they're not going to get any points from there. Again, without seeing how healthy either of those destroyers are. In fact, we actually did just get a quick glimpse of the Gearing. He is very wounded. He doesn't have much health left. So the Shimakaze, Shimakaze could have gunned him down, but he chose to use his torpedoes. And as is probably not too unsurprising, the Gearing is finally taken out. And so that leaves Puggsley as the only destroyer for the team. Pugs, I keep saying Puggsley, and I guess he addresses himself, or most people address him as Pugs, so I apologize for that, has moved into Bravo. At this point, if I were Pugs, I'd be very anxious to have the carrier spot the Z-52. Pugs is going to have to smoke up here because he is going to get detected by the carrier. Excuse me. He is detected by the carrier and is had to drop into concealment. The carrier was able to get a reasonably good strike on him, but if I were Pugs, I'd be a little bit nervous here, because not just because of the carrier, but also because the Z-52 with the hydroacoustic search would be able to detect, or could potentially push into the cap and detect Pugs and then just smoke up and start gunning Pugs down. But as luck would have, the Z-52 isn't going to do that, and Pugs is going to be able to get this Bravo cap. So again, a reflection of Pugs' effort to stay focused on the objective. He is going to get the second cap for the team. The team is still behind. The ship counts are even, but the opponents have held two caps for such a long time that they've established a more than 150-point lead on Pugs' team. There's the cap. And then Pug's going to move over toward the Alpha side. And you can see he's pinging on the map. I think Pugs is looking to get some support to identify and take out the Z-52. We can see the carrier is sending planes over based on the area that Pugs has indicated. And sure enough, we do see the Shimakaze. So try and get some pressure on him. Now, we don't know where the Z-52 ended up. So that's a little bit disconcerting. We do Pugs does get a torpedo on something. I don't know if that was the Shimakaze or maybe the Z-52, uh, but Pugs is going to make his way over toward the Alpha Cap again. Pugs is looking to have his cruisers try to provide some support to defend the Bravo Cap. The challenge as a cruiser main, my thinking is yes, I want to defend that cap, but the problem I have is that there's at least one and maybe two battleships that could easily fire into Bravo. And so if I were detected as a cruiser, that's an easy one-shot situation. What I think is also a valid concern, however, is there, as we see another ping on the map on the far east side of the map, is that there's at least a couple of allies that have kind of crammed themselves in this little pocket over at Echo 10, and that's not helping the team either because they're okay, sure, it's a great protected position. In fact, now we do see the Z-52 that's now moved over to the far east side, but it's not in a position to be able to put fire on anything or really effectively support a cap unless the carrier spots the Z-52 in an attempt to take Charlie. Pugs has come over to, is almost into the Alpha Cap. We can see some torpedoes coming in. I think these are probably well, they might be from the Shima. They could also be from the Venezia. I don't remember how many torpedoes the Venezia has on each side, but a few torpedoes that have gone by. Pug's radio location is still pointing at the Shima. He again is pinging on the map. I think he's looking to have his couple of cruisers that are behind him help support him if he is to detect the Shimakaze, make sure that they get that destroyer off the flank, because that will make it a lot easier for Pugs to be able to defend these caps. In fact, now we see that Bravo is being taken so that we know the Shimakaze has moved in the cap. Pugs is going to stay here until the Alpha Cap is taken, and then he's going to move back over, I think, back over to the Bravo area to support that side. I do see some, we have a radar Minotaur, thankfully, on Pug's team, and he has indeed lit up the Shimakaze and is getting some salvos in, and fortunately the Smolensk takes advantage of the radar and takes out the Shimakaze, and that's going to make things much, much easier to be able to control some of these caps. Now, in the same way that I think Pugsley had some valid concerns about what his team was doing in terms of being in a position to support caps, so too now the opponents are also playing very far back. They're playing quite timidly, and now that the uh, Pugs team has taken all of the three caps, uh, the opponents are gonna fall further and further behind, or they're gonna fall behind very quickly and continue to fall behind very, very rapidly. Pugs, in my opinion, is well, he should be turning back towards Bravo, in my opinion. If he goes directly south here, he's going to look to get a torpedo strike, I think, on this battleship on the Kremlin. The challenge that he has is that with the islands that are on his left and right side, if he goes south of them, he can end up getting himself sort of cut off a little bit if the carrier sends planes there, because there will be a number of opponents that potentially could fire on him. And so being south of those islands kind of can potentially cut you off. Now, the carrier, the opposing carrier is doing a good job helping to focus Pug's team. He takes out the Venezia. So Pug's team continues to be behind. In fact, they just lost another ship, the Radar Minotaur. So Pug's team is down by what they've got 6-9. So they got a 3-ship deficit. But again, they continue to hold 3 caps. And so long as they hold those caps, or at least 2 of them, they should be okay. Pugs does get a torpedo on the Kremlin. Somebody's called target on the Henri because he's quite low on health. That would be a good target to get out of the way as well. And we can see the opponents have moved into Charlie now. So the opponents have gotten a little bit of their focus back, at least to get a cap, which is good for them. But so long as the Allies can keep them contained to Charlie without taking another cap, then they should be okay. And again, securing all these caps is entirely thanks to Pugs. He has 3 solo caps, a reflection of taking Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Pugs is, in my opinion, make the right choice here to move back to Bravo to help defend the center of the map, which is where he should be, as he gets a nice torpedo strike on the Kremlin. In fact, detonates the Kremlin. So the Kremlin gets taken out, as he probably would have, but at least he gets some signals out of it. And the Allies now have finished off this Smolensk. But they are still down. They have a 2-ship deficit, but they have now taken the lead, and they will continue to gain. There's been a call to focus the Hindenburg that's moving toward Bravo. This is obviously a significant threat for Pugs. Pugs is going to stay north of the island in order to keep himself protected. We also now see the low health Kurfürst that is on the west side of Charlie, and Pugs is requesting support because, again, some of his allies are a little bit far from being able to support him. Pugs is able to get a couple of torpedoes on the Hindenburg, finish him off, and that brings the allies over 900 points. And then Pugs is going to move over to get a torpedo strike on the Kurfürst as well, and that will help almost basically bring things to a close very, very quickly here. So again, a very good reflection of staying focused on the objective. I think Pugs was quite fortunate that the opposing carrier didn't put too much focus on trying to get Pugs detected or taken out. There was that one moment in Bravo when the carrier did work on Pugs a little bit, but as luck would have it, Pugs played things very, very smartly, in my opinion, and he is going to come over to, again, back to the center of Bravo here and get some torpedoes on the Kurfürst as the Allies are closing in on 1,000 points for the win. We can also see a reflection of the main penalty of the Shimakaze's legendary upgrade, which makes the torpedo tube traverse very, very slow. I think it's 30 seconds for 180 degrees. So a significant penalty. So you have to be very careful to keep your torpedo tubes on the side where you want them. Make sure that you've got them predicted well. He gets detected here. He's a tad close to the Kurfürst, but the way that he sent these quite short on purpose in expectation, and rightfully so, that the Kurfürst, once he saw him, would slow, but it's simply too late for the Kurfürst. And Pugs is going to take out the Kurfürst and win the game for the team. Now, Pugs was so enthusiastic about the results of this match and his performance, as he should have been, that he did not get end screen results. So unfortunately, I don't have those to share with you, but I think we can be pretty well rest assured that given the amount of damage and the solo capping, Pugs certainly would have come in top for his team. So I certainly hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.